Is the microphone in the frame, in the shot this time?
It is not.
Because people complain in the comments. Welcome to Beme News. I saw Dunkirk on a date with Jake, who's behind the camera, on Sunday night. Mind blown. I'm a huge World War II buff. In fact, one of my favorite books is called The Second World War by John Keegan. It's a military textbook. It's fantastic. The movie was magical. It was amazing. I loved every second of it, but it just kind of threw you right into the story of Dunkirk. It didn't give you any context. Like, if you don't know the history of what took place there, you kind of don't know why that happened. So let me explain. September 1, 1939, the Germans, the Nazis, they invade Poland. September 3, 1939, 2 days later, both the French and the British declare war on Nazi Germany in response to them invading Poland. By May 1940, that's 8 months later, the Germans, the Nazis, they're marching through Europe. They tear through the Netherlands, they tear through Belgium. That's the Blitzkrieg, German for lightning war. A lot of that movement comes from their Panzer tanks. That's these fast-moving armored vehicles, basically the ultimate war machine at the time. And now France, England, they know that they're next, but the French, they have this thing called the Maginot Line. The Maginot Line is this line of defense between Germany and France. France built it after World War I. World War I, the Germans also invaded France, and the French were like, never again, Germany. They built this line, this defensive line. It's like fortresses and bunkers and guns to keep the Germans out. And the French, they thought this Maginot Line was impenetrable, but the Germans and their panzer divisions, they just went around it. Nice one, France. And that surprise move, along with a bunch of other factors, really gave the Nazis a level up over the Allies. They were pummeling the Allies all over France, and the Allies, they needed to get out. So they went to the nearest port, which was Dunkirk, on the northern coast of France. They wanted to get there and get the hell out of France before they lost too many troops. Now, 400,000 troops there, mostly British, some French, some Belgium, and they needed a rescue, but the British Navy was simultaneously under attack, and that needed to be protected. Now, obviously, this is very, very bad news for the Allies at Dunkirk, on the coast, waiting for rescue. Hitler's panzer divisions, these killing machines, they were poised to attack, to invade Dunkirk. By May 23rd, 1940, the panzer divisions, they were a stone's throw. Who says a stone's throw? The guy who literally wrote the book called Dunkirk says they were a stone's throw from Dunkirk. And had they invaded right then and there, this would have been a huge turning point for the Nazis. Some theorize this would have essentially ended the war in the Nazis' favor, literally wiping out about half of all British foot soldiers. But Hitler didn't do it. Hitler did not have the panzer divisions move in, and there's a lot of military historians, a lot of people speculate why. Why did he hold those troops back? Maybe it's because those tanks couldn't move through the marshland just outside of Dunkirk. Maybe Hitler thought that the Nazi Air Force, the Luftwaffe, could finish the job. A lot of theories as to why they did not attack, but nevertheless, they held back. It gave the Allies at Dunkirk enough time to set up a defensive perimeter. Now, this defensive perimeter wasn't enough to actually stop the Nazis, but it was enough to slow them down. Enough time to put together a comprehensive evacuation plan. The British called it Operation Dynamo. And that's essentially where the movie, the Christopher Nolan movie, Dunkirk, picks up, is at the beginning of Operation Dynamo. The evacuation lasted 10 days, from May 26 to June 4th, 1940. A call was sent out for as many boats as possible to help the Royal Navy. They needed small crafts to get into the shallow waters, and hundreds of civilians responded with private yachts and barges, paddle steamers and lifeboats. In the end, it was over 900 ships, that includes the Royal Navy and the civilian ships, were used in the rescue effort. And it wasn't all good news. During the rescue effort, over a third of those boats were damaged or sunk, and 3,500 British soldiers and civilians and people involved in that rescue effort were killed. The British thought before launching this effort that they might be able to save between 30,000 and 45,000 people. And that was when the miracle of Dunkirk took place. See, in the end, over 338,000 men were rescued. Now, those are some of the facts, some of the details of what actually transpired at Dunkirk. The real-world historical event that was Dunkirk, not the movie. The Christopher Nolan movie, and part of what made it so amazing was that it wasn't about all of those facts, all of those details. It was about the human story. That's where Harry Styles fits in. He's one of the characters. He's amazing in the movie, by the way, very easy on the eyes. But it was a zeroing in on the human story, what it was like to be there, what it was like to be one of the soldiers there, that made his movie so magical. When it comes to storytelling, it's always the human part of the story that we as people identify with.
Ken Sturdy just watched the premiere of Dunkirk in Calgary. He was only 20 years old, a signalman with the Royal Navy helping evacuated soldiers reach waiting boats from the chaos on the beach.
There's a gigantic difference between seeing a fictional depiction of a world event, or even reading a book about a world event, versus hearing from an actual witness, someone who was physically there.
I think it brought back, I could see my old friends again.
And when there's an opportunity to speak to one of those witnesses, to hear about an event like that firsthand from someone who was there, that's an opportunity you take.
Somebody said to me, would you like to see that movie, Dunkirk? On the way out, People started coming up to me and hugging me and kissing me and that. And they were saying, "You were in that movie." I've got enough chairs for everybody.
I want to hug you.
I was just a young 20-year-old, and I went over to Dunkirk as a sailor to help the army get off the beach. I can remember one warship only.
One warship?
There weren't any others available. I'm just a young 20-year-old. How long does this go on? Yeah. And also, when you first see people dying on the beach, that changes things a lot.
Did you think that Dunkirk got anything wrong? Absolutely inaccurate. Did not happen.
One or two small things. Some of those shots of them, the fellas all lined up in one of the larger Navy boats, all had neatly equipped with a steel helmet. That wasn't so. Lots of them fled to the beach, had to leave their military hats.
And when you were in the theater watching this, did it take you back to those moments?
It did indeed, yes. It was a kind of fear that will never fade, really, and that film brought it back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mr. Sturdy wants to walk us out. Hold my hand. Take me there. Guys, too.
Memorable is rarely used, but today was memorable. And thank you, dear.
That was incredible. Lindsay, thank you. Chris, thank you for going to Calgary to interview Petty Officer Ken Sturdy. He was amazing. Did you see Dunkirk?
Yeah.
Did you see it?
Yep.
Scale of 1 to 10.
9.
8, but I didn't know what was going on.
I hope we helped with that. I give it a 9. I would have given it a 10, but
it wasn't perfect, but it was awesome.
Absolute masterpiece.
It was perfect.
Dunkirk is a great film, but it totally missed out on India's contribution in the war.
Harry Styles is in Dunkirk. That's all you need.
Dunkirk was a movie released by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is owned by the same parent company as Beme.
Yeah.
And we had to say that for legal reasons? Okay. Jake, can you just use just that, what I just said? Okay, perfect.